So today we're going to be making a Spider-Man wallet. Since the Amazing Spider-Man just came out and it was super amazing, I decided to make this. And also my HD clear tape. First you're going to start off by taking 8 strips of tape, and I usually cut them to around 9 inches just so I can have extra space to trim if I need. And I always use a ruler just because I like my lines to be straight. So go ahead and cut 8 strips out. If you want the inside of the wallet to be a different color, make it whatever color. For instance, if you wanted the inside of your wallet where your money goes, where your dollar bills are, you can put it a different color, like red, to match that. I'm gonna go ahead and just do it all Spider-Man on the inside. Actually, the whole wallet will be Spider-Man mainly. So go ahead and cut your 8 strips of tape out at 9 inches. Okay, so once you have all 8 strips cut out, what you want to do is, if I can get this piece up, is flip one side over to where the sticky side is facing up. I have this really cool rotating mat I got at Walmart. It's pretty awesome. That way I don't have to keep lifting everything up. So you want to stick one side over, sticky side up, and put another piece of tape sticky side down, so it's sticky side to sticky side. Oh no, you can do it, I would say you could do it halfway. It doesn't really matter since it's Spider-Man, since it's all the same pattern on the inside. But just to where there's some of the sticky exposed on both sides. And all you're gonna have to do is just flip it over. And then you're just going to continue the rest of the way down. And they don't have to be perfectly lined up, like, to where it's evenly lined up perfectly, because I cover all of my fold over lines up at the very end, and I know a lot of you are going to probably say, like, it's a waste of tape, you may as well use a different color. I don't like to, just because if there is a mistake, it's all the same, it's all the same colors. It's not like there's randomly white in here or yellow or any other extra color you may have. So once you flip that, stick that side, you're just going to flip it back over and continue sticking the rest of the pieces on. So go ahead and do that now. Okay, now when you're doing the last one, you don't want to stick it all the way up at the top. You want to just continue and do it the way that you've been doing. So that way there is this little extra piece of here, and you can just fold that down, and it makes a really clean, straight edge on that side, so it's not so weird. What you're going to do now is you're going to fold it over. I like to have mine to where they have just a little bit. If you want to get technical, you can measure it. I'd like to have it at least 1/4 of an inch. Just showing, just so it separates it a little bit, so it's kind of, neat like that. I'm just going to crease that down, and this is where the exact measurements come in. I measured all of the strips of tape to 9 inches, which is right here. So you can see it kind of goes over a little bit. So what I like to do is I like to get my ruler, and I'll just trim little by little till I make it 8 inches. So I want to cut it to 8 inches, but I don't want to cut it straight directly at 8 inches because I want to trim both sides so they're both perfectly nice and even. So I like to just put it here, you know, line up all the lines, and I'll take off, let's say, I'll take off 1/4 of an inch just for now, and hold firmly on your ruler so that so it doesn't come up from the tape, and so it makes a nice clean cut. That one didn't, but it's okay. That's why I like to cut the strips longer than what they need to. So if I do make mistakes, like how I just cut this little piece off, which I just fixed it, it doesn't really matter because I can still always bring it in. So let's measure this and make sure this is okay. And you're just going to want to do the same thing to the other side. It doesn't really matter if it's upside down because you're still going to just take off. You can take off another 1/4 of an inch if you want. Once you guys start doing this, you'll see how I'm explaining it is fairly simple, but I like to add extra stuff in there so it makes it seem like it's a little bit more complex than what it really is. And you can use scissors if you don't have an X-Acto knife. I do, and I prefer using them just because they're a lot easier. Okay, so my wallet is now at 8 inches and 1/4. So I can just trim this last side over here that wasn't quite even. I can just trim it just to the 8-inch mark. So it's perfectly even, and there you go. That looks really tiny, but that's 8 inches. So what you're going to want to do now, if you have it straight like this and you turn it to the side, measure it from where the flap opens, which is right here, to, like, put that on the end of the board and measure, you know, going outward. So this is 3 1/4, so you just want to get a piece of tape. And again, this is going to be covered up, but I like to make sure that it's all the same pattern so it doesn't look funky and mismatched. So what you want to do is just measure the length you need, which it was 3 1/4. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just going to do 3 1/2 just to have extra leeway. And a lot of you probably would think that I'm wasting tape, but I like to make them look really nice instead of just kind of halfway on there or anything like that. And what you want to do is you just want to cut this in half, straight down the middle. Okay. Basically what you're doing is you're just going to close up the sides. So again, double check, make sure that it comes up to 1/4 of an inch. And okay. And you're going to put half of it on the wallet and half of it off the wallet, right at the very end. And if you don't want this to be separated, if you want it all one length, you can do that also. I prefer my wallets to have that little extra lip piece just so you can signify what is the outer part of the wallet and where your actual money is. So what you want to do is just flip it over and cut that side and get your other piece of tape and do the same thing. With these other little extra tabs, I lost my scissors. Well, with these little extra tabs, you can just, these aren't my scissors. I usually have pink ones. All of my stuff matches, but I guess I left them with all of the other supplies. So you just cut that little tab off and discard that. Okay, so now you have your billfold all nice and done. So what you want to start doing now, just fold it in half. That way you know that's the middle of your wallet. And this doesn't really look straight right now, simply because I was kind of just putting them on lopsided. But this is going to get covered by pockets anyways. And I like to do 3 pockets right here and an ID pocket right here. And sometimes, depending on the order, I'll do a hidden pocket in the back. Today I might do it. I'll let you guys know if I do. So you can set this aside. And whatever color you want for your pockets, you're gonna need, I'm gonna do all Spider-Man like I said. So my pockets are even gonna be Spider-Man. So whatever color you want, you're gonna wanna measure 4 inches because it's half of the wallet. And you're gonna wanna cut it just a smidge more just so you can have a little bit more to work with. So I'm gonna do 4 1/4 just because I don't need that much extra space. So for each one pocket, you need 2 strips of tape. So for instance, this right here, these 2 right here make 1 pocket, and I'll show you how to make that. All you're going to need to do is you're going to do the same thing you did to make your duct tape fabric to make your wallet, the way you just layered it on top of each other. But this time, you don't want to leave any extra space, any other little extra sticky on the bottom. You're going to want to cover it completely. Okay, and this little extra sticky on the sides is okay. That's why I did extra. I did 4 1/4 instead of 4, so I can trim it to 4 inches evenly, even though I have those little extra stickies on each side. So you're gonna put this aside and do however many more pockets you want. I usually do 3 pockets, but you can do however many you think you can fit in your wallet. So go ahead and get the rest of your pockets ready. Okay, once you have all of your pockets, you're just going to want to trim the sides off. Okay, so once you have your pockets all trimmed evenly, you're going to want to get a color for your brim, unless you don't want a brim. I personally like them. I wish I had my wallets down here so I could show you. I was just completely unprepared. But basically what you're going to want to do is you're just going to want to measure this, and this is 4 inches, just in case you guys forgot. You're going to want to get whatever color brim, and this tape is really beat up because I have a whole ton of tapes and they're just all thrown in a box, and that's my only storage I have for them, so it's gonna have to make do. So for this, you're gonna also want to do it 1/4 of an inch more than what you need, just because so you can work with it. And since it's the brim, it's a little bit more complex to put together than the actual pockets themselves. So you're gonna want to go ahead and just cut it 1/4 of an inch, and you can cut 2 strips just so it looks so it's evenly cut. And I'll show you exactly why. It doesn't really matter how wide they're going to be, because you're going to want just a thin part of the color showing up in the front of the pocket to identify that there's 3 different pockets. So once you have your pieces of tape with whatever color brim you want, you're basically just going to want, you can cut it in half. I find it a little bit easier to work with if I just cut it straight down the middle, and it doesn't have to be even. I'll show you exactly why. Just go ahead and do that to both of them. Once you got them cut, you're going to have 4 strips. You're not going to need all 4, you're just going to need 3. And I'm going to use these probably. They're the best looking. This one you don't need. You can hold it off to the side in case you need it later for adhesive somewhere else. So basically what you're going to want to do, I cut it like this, and this part's kind of jagged, so I'm not going to use that part. I'm going to use this side. Okay, so you're just going to want to put it 1/4 of an inch on this way, so you can start it off like, if you have marks on your cutting board, it's a lot easier. If you don't have a cutting board, then it's going to be a little bit more difficult. You don't have to have it this precise. These are just my measurements that I like to have on my wallets. So you're just going to stick it on there. You can put it up to the light to make sure that it's even. And all you're going to do is just flip it over to the other side. And that's your brim. You can take a pair of scissors and just trim off that little piece. And there's your first brim. And you can go ahead and do that to the rest of your pockets. Okay, once you have them all the brims on, they look so much nicer. Instead of just having the IDs looking like this, you know, real solid. I mean, real, nothing, you know, it's just tape, 2 pieces of tape stuck together. This kind of looks a little bit more nice, has a clean finish. So what you want to do is you can start assembling your wallet. So you can just basically adjust them however much you want them to be spread apart. You know, you want them to have a fairly decent space apart from them, but you don't want them to be too gapped out. And I think this is pretty good like this. So basically you're going to do the same thing. You measured this earlier, and to refresh your memory, if you're doing it with my measurements, it's going to be 3 1/4 inch. So again, you're going to want to just cut it at 3 1/2, and you can use any color. I have this little extra piece left over from the 4th part of the brim, so I could use that if I wanted to, and I'm probably not going to. Just again, so everything looks consistent with this wallet. You can, it doesn't hurt if you do. I just want everything to look consistent and clean in this wallet. So go ahead and cut a piece of tape out, and you're going to want to do the same thing how you made the brim. You're going to want to cut 3 1/2 inch piece of tape out, cut it in half down the middle, and you can use that other part for a different part on this side. So go ahead and do that now. Okay, once you have your piece of duct tape that you want to use to close up the side, you can put this other off to the side. Make sure these are straight one more time just to be sure. And this bottom one, you always want to make sure that it's at the very bottom of the wallet itself. And before I forget, when I used to watch videos on YouTube on how to start making wallets, a lot of people forgot to mention that you should probably close up the bottoms, because if you don't close up the bottoms, your ID will just slip straight through all the way down to the very last pocket. So if you wanted, you could use these strips of extra tape that you have left over. Nobody's going to see them. So if you want, you can go ahead and do that. I would highly recommend you doing it, just again, so your cards don't go all the way straight down. So you can go ahead and let me make sure that these are all measured the way I want them to be. My camera died, so basically you're going to want to, put the pieces of tape down in there like that, just so the credit cards don't fall out, and get that other piece of tape that you cut originally, the other half of this one, and put it on the side, half of it, and flip it over, and get your pair of scissors and just snip that little part off. And that's that. You have that already all done. So you're not going to want to put the tape, cover this part up yet right here, but seal that down quite yet, because you just don't want too much tape right here to keep it from closing. You want it to just have one solid piece of tape that's going to do its job and stick everything together, that you're not going to have to worry about stacking tape on top of tape on top of tape right here. So it keeps it really clean and really easy to close, so it doesn't have tape to keep folding open. So what you're going to want to do, if you want to pocket a secret back pocket behind here, let me show you an example. When my camera died, I was able to go run and get the rest of my stuff. And okay, this for example is my fiance's wallet. I Super Mario one, which is pretty cool, I must say. And that's what he has all his IDs in here. I mean, all his cards. This is actually his daily wallet. He uses, so that's why there's stuff in here and it looks like it's used. You know, the dollar bills are in there. I did all of it Mario in there. But if you want a secret, this is your ID thing, but if you want a secret thing behind it, you can. If you see, my finger can't see through there. There's a secret pocket right there, and I actually did this kind of fast, so I didn't have a chance to do this one completely correct. So this is where your ID will go. Borrow this. This is where your ID will go, like that, and which is good. You know, you want to be able to have your ID there, and then another. This is, by the way, a prepaid card, so don't think that this is like a gift card or something. So this isn't a real credit card I'm using. I would never do that. This is a gift card, credit card thing. And you can put your anything back here, secret. So if you want to do that, what you're going to want to do is you're going to basically want to do the same thing how you made your pocket over here. You can set that aside. And you want to do it at 4 1/4, just so you have some extra space. So go ahead and measure out, I'd say 4 strips at 4 1/4. So go ahead and do that now. Okay, once you have your 4 strips cut out at 4 1/4, you're going to basically want to do the same thing that you did to make the actual ID itself. So you're going to want to basically want to do the same thing, like put half on, leave half off, and then just fold the rest over. Like that. You only want it to be the height of your wallet, of this part of your wallet. So in other words, it is, let's see, it's at like 3 1/4, but you don't want it all the way, so I'd say do it about 3 inches tall. So if you put this here at the 3-inch mark, just so you know that that's what you want, you can work downwards and it's probably a bit easier. So you could do it like this. So this is basically what you want. You just want like a little piece. I did this a different way right now. I don't know why, I just did. And what you want to do, I should have used my X-Acto knife, but you just want to make sure that it's not all the way touching the cards, that it's kind of like after it's creased, you kind of want to just make sure it's like sitting right there. And it doesn't have to be all the way up here because it's a secret pocket. You know, you don't want it to be the same, to be flushed with this, because then it'd kind of be a little obvious that there's a pocket there. So just kind of do it like this, and this is measuring a little less than 4 inches. So I'm just gonna straighten up these lines right here, all squared away. This is your little pocket for back here. You're not gonna stick it on yet. That's just gonna be set aside. Whatever color you want your brim to be. For example, on this Mario one, all the brims are yellow. So for this one, I'm going to do red, obviously. So what you're going to want to do is basically, you're just going to cut out however big the card is. Let's say I want to cut it, I'm putting it at the half point, not 1 1/2, but just half. The actual card itself measures up to around 3 1/2 inches, but you don't want it to be straight like that. You want it to kind of have a little bit of a, you know, gap all the way around it. So you could put it at the half mark and cut maybe to 4 1/2, and that'll probably be a little bit easier. So let's cut this at 4 1/2, and you want to cut 4 strips, basically the same way you did this. You want to do the same thing, but you want it to be at least 3 1/2 inches tall. Once you have all of your 4 strips of 4 1/2, measured at 4 1/2 cut out, you're going to want to basically do the same thing. This technique is basically used throughout the whole process of making a wallet. you're just going to make fabric. You're just going to make a smaller fabric. So what you want to do is just place it the same way you did to actually make the wallet. Okay, so you have this all done. What you want to do is just go ahead and trim it. Okay, that's pretty even with it now. What you're going to want to do is just get like a card. It doesn't matter what kind of card, but you're basically just going to want to outline the card, making sure it's even or fairly even all the way around. And if you put the tape on kind of crooked, it kind of makes it a little bit hard for you to determine what is even. Like I'm kind of having a hard time now. But just with a pin, just kind of trace around it. And since I have this cutting board, it's simple. Okay. That way you have that. It's exactly what you want. And this pin, it comes off when you rub it off. So next what you want to do is get your X-Acto knife and just cut all the way around on that line. So once you've cut this part out, you can discard this. You don't really need it for anything. You can wipe off all of that pin that's all on the sides. And when you draw the line, I'd recommend drawing it, tracing the line on the side that you're not going to use to be shown, because really nothing's going to be seen but the top part, which in this case I rounded this off on here, so it kind of makes it a smoother thing. So that's all that can basically be seen. None of the sides, nothing else, just basically the top. So you have that. What you're going to want to do next, this is kind of the hard part since it's clear tape. You can't really see it on camera. And since it's HD clear tape, it's super HD and clear. So what you're going to want to do is use that tape up. You can line this up to make it a bit easier for yourself. I find it easier to do it. And you're just going to basically laminate it. That's all you're going to do. You want to line it up with the top of the tape and then just press down and just cut that piece off. And fix whatever you need to right away, because if you wait for the last minute, it'll kind of be a little bit more difficult to fix. It's like there's air bubbles right here that I see, and if I don't fix them now, it'll be difficult to fix them later, or they won't get fixed. It'll just stay like that. So then get your second piece of tape and line it up at the bottom. And then just tape it down. And cut. You can get your ruler and kind of just draw straight across, straight down to trim off those other extra things that you don't need. So when you're done, you have your thing sticking to your board. You flip it over and you're going to do the same exact thing to the other side. This side, you have to be really careful since there's sticky right here. You want to make sure that you get it kind of on the first try. And just flatten it out. Push outwards to make sure that all of the air bubbles get pushed to the corners as opposed to the middle. So once you have this, it's no longer sticky, it's just a clear ID holder. You keep your ID in there. So, and I can tell that this is my back, so this is going to go to the front. Now you can start assembling the rest of your wallet. And how you're going to do that is you're going to do the same exact thing that you did to this side. Let's see. It's 3 1/4. have this little piece of scrap tape here. It's 3 1/2. I'll use this. I'm glad I have it. So basically you're going to want to fasten down your ID holder, your ID window and your secret pocket if you decided to use it. If not, then just go ahead and do your ID. And do it to the end of this side of the wallet so this can all be taped unevenly if it needs to be. Okay, and do the same thing, put half on, half off, flip it over. I could have cut it in half, but I didn't this time just because I want to make sure that it stays really well. And then fold that little crease down. And what you can do, since this is a lot of stuff going on right here, you can just cut out this little piece of tape, little square part, and fold that up so it gives it a little bit more secure section. So you have that in. All you need to do now is close up this side, which that'll be perfect. So to close the middle, all you're going to have to do is just get another piece like this. I like to measure it just to see how much. I'm only going to need a little bit, so I'm going to cut this in half. It'll probably be good. Okay, and you're just going to simply put this on both the ID and the credit card pockets. And instead of doing anything, any cutting or anything, you're just going to fold that down back there. And then fold that other little piece downwards. And there's your wallet. It's almost done. For the bottom part, you're going to need a piece of tape that is 8 inches, but again, do it longer than what it needs to be, so do 8 1/2, just to have some extra space. Just place it, you can place it a good way up. I guess it doesn't really matter, just as long as it's kind of all even. Just so it kind of like freshens up and seals up all of the connecting pieces of tape. It looks good. And you're just going to simply flip it over and fold that down. And make sure you get those pieces. And for this you can do the same thing how I did on the other one. Just cut the this rectangular piece off and then just flip that over. Or you can just cut it off. It doesn't really matter. I'll do both of them so you can see. It really doesn't matter which route you decide to take on that one. So, oops, okay. So that's pretty much your wallet. That's pretty much the finished product right there. You have your billfold in here, which is all Spider-Man. And then you have your 3 pockets here. And these are kind of closed off right here, so you can just get a pair of scissors and just kind of clip it, and just keep doing that so that the cards fit in there nicely. And don't forget to do it to the ID one off as well, because otherwise you won't be able to get your ID in there. So now you should have all of your cards that fit in here perfectly. There's that one, here's that one, that one. Here is your secret pocket back there. I don't know if you can really get a good shot of that, but there's your secret pocket. And then your ID holder, which holds your ID perfectly in place. So all of these back here, I don't really care for all of this, all the fold over lines. It kind of looks a little bit ugly. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to measure this exactly. So it is, 3.5 inches tall, and it is about 8 inches wide. So what you're going to want to do is make it a little bit bigger than what it is. And remember how you used this earlier when it was one whole piece and you wanted to make sure that there was enough gap, enough space left over on the sides? It's basically what you're going to want to do now. So for instance, you can put it at the 1 inch mark and put this one on the 9 inch mark, and make your pieces of tape start from the beginning of the board all the way to the 10 inch mark. So basically you want a whole inch in between, and I'd say about, you can do half an inch if you prefer. I'm going to do a whole inch, I think. Let me see. Yeah, I'll probably do a whole inch all the way around. So instead of it being 4.5, it'll be 5.5. You'll see. And you're just going to cut out strips of tape. This is kind of where it gets a little bit tricky, because what you need to do, if you want it to look good, which in this case I do, the Spider-Man tape is a little bit hard to match the lines up, to line them up, as opposed to your polka dot one, where you can line them up easily because they're just circles. Well, Spider-Man print is a little bit more complex than that, so you can just try your best with it. Let's see. I forgot how much it was. You can go ahead and do it at half. That'll probably be better. So measure it at half. So you have half an inch from the top, from the bottom, from the sides, everywhere. So you want to cut it at 9 inches. And this is probably the easiest way to do it, is to line it up down at the bottom. And you are going to waste a little bit of tape trying to line up everything, but it's worth it in the end. If you're like me and you have to have it lined up, then this is what you have to do. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to. This is the first time I've used this, and the first time I've had to try to line it up, so it can be done, but it'll probably be. Let me see if I can start this pattern over. There we go. I'm going to keep trying to practice on this and try to make this as perfect as possible, because it upsets me when I don't get things the right way, the way I like them to be. So with any other pattern that you have, or if you're going to do just a solid color wallet, it'll be so much more easier, because you won't have to worry about lining anything up and making sure this is lined up. You won't have to worry about any of that. What you're going to want to do next is just stick this. Let's see. Okay, put this sticky side up. You can put it on the line. What you want to do is just basically like stand above the thing practically, and just lay it down right on top of it as evenly as you can. Press down as hard as you can. Get all those air bubbles out. And all you're going to want to do is, you're not going to want to fold anything over. You're going to want to cut out little squares. So from this corner out to this corner down. This is the best way I can explain it. And then the corner out, and then the same corner down. So you cut out just a little square, and you leave little empty, like L shapes. So now all you're going to want to do next is, I recommend doing the sides first, just because the top's longer, so it has that more clean finish. So you're just going to want to, before I forget, don't forget to cut right here, straight across from where the billfold billfold opens up, you're just going to want to cut exactly down that line. So you can fold that part in by itself. And you can do the other side as well. Okay, now all you need to do is the top part. Make sure you don't tape that down, so lift that part up, and then you can start from the middle. It's probably a bit easier, and you can just work your way down one side. And it kind of creates a nice clean brim on this as well. If you're doing an all solid color and you want to figure out how to do this a separate color, I'll probably make a video on how to do that as well. But for this, it's fine because it's all the same color on the inside. So if you're doing a different color on the inside, it's a bit different. So that's pretty much it. That's your wallet. You can crease that down. You can put something heavy on top of it for it to, you know, keep that hold. But that's pretty much it right there. And don't forget to come back over here and to cut this one last time. It doesn't have to be as wide, just to make sure it's a little snip for that new tape that you just put on there. You don't have to do it to the middle though, but make sure you do it to the ID. So that's pretty much it. If you want to see it one more time, that's the actual billfold inside, all Spider-Man. Here's 3 pockets, 1, 2, 3. Then here's a hidden pocket in the back, and then here's your ID. So this is how you make a patterned Spider-Man wallet. And like I said, I will be doing another wallet tutorial on a solid color, or maybe just solid colors in general with no pattern, so you can see the difference. It's fairly the same, but it's not as complex as this because you don't have to worry about fold over lines or anything. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like, share with your friends, everything else, and I will be making more videos. And if there's anything in particular you guys want me to try to make, I love the challenge. I will try to make anything. I'm right now learning how to make different flowers and trying to create my own flowers out of duct tape. So if there's anything else you guys want me to try to make, just go ahead and leave a comment down below, and don't forget to share with all your friends. Thank you!